I don't understand why people feel the need of apologize when they've been caught committing a crime. They don't give a second thought before committing the act, but when they were facing the consequences for it, they begged us to forgive them. Let's get started on the tale, but before we do, make sure to click the bell icon and subscribe to our channel. My former wife's name was Maria, and she was 32 years old when we divorced. My name is Tucker and I'm 35 years old. I was the kind of person who always believed that there was a better way to go through life. I don't like it when there are a lot of people around because I believe that it makes it harder for others to see the situation from my point of view. I used to be the kind of person who could find something exciting in even the most mundane of activities. Although I did not have a large number of friends, I do not count any of them as personal. People appreciated me for the way I was, and in the same way, I required a life partner who shared my values and perspectives. However, I was under the impression that it was not possible to locate another individual who possessed the same nature as I do. But 2 years ago, I came into contact with a person who would forever alter the course of my life. For the past 2 years, I worked in the cosmetics industry while also running a small company that I founded. It was a very good one in terms of the progression of the company. When compared to that of other businesses, its revenue was quite respectable. It was all due to the efforts that I put in, along with that of my team. I always tried to be on time, always had extra time for work, and when it came time to relax, I would travel to a new location on the weekends to get away from it all and enjoy myself. Sometimes with my brother, but most of the time, I'm just by myself. I'm aware that it may appear to be ridiculous, but the fact of the matter is that I always enjoyed my company. Because of this, I made the decision one weekend to go to Miami, Florida, because about a month ago, I came across a post online that described a large festival in Miami. As a result, I have settled on going there for the upcoming weekend for a total of 2 days. The evening had already passed when I got there. The festival had already begun when I arrived. After completing the check-in procedure at the hotel that I had reserved 3 days earlier, I showered and went to the area of the festival. At the intimate concert hall where people were dancing with partners. However, I did not require it, and I've started dancing in my own unique way. I looked over and saw a pretty woman dancing by herself in the back corner of the room. I couldn't help but feel out of place because everyone had a partner who was dancing, so I ignored it on the time. Following that, I went on to the restaurant in order to get something to eat. When I was in the middle of eating the meal, I looked over and saw that girl talking to herself while she was eating something. It's possible that the way I felt about it at the time was a sign for me. When I saw her, she was having dinner by herself while chatting to herself, and I was surprised because she had the same habits as me. For example, she dances alone, and then she talks to herself while she eats dinner by herself. I found it rare like me. I bent down to my food and went to talk to her. I couldn't wait to get a chance to chat with her. After I had gone to see her, after she finally stopped talking to herself, she turned to me and asked what had taken place. I asked for and received permission to sit with her, and I get to my point now. I told her that her behavior was identical to mine in every way. She was equally astounded to learn all of this, and it is because of that we became friends. Following that, we went for a short walk. She was Georgia and worked as a chef at local restaurant. While talking, I found her same like me. Almost all of her activities were the same as mine. I think that was the single most important thing that helped to bind us so closely. After that, whenever either of us had the opportunity to fly to a new location, we did so together so that we could catch up and have a good time. We were very open and honest with each other in 2 or 3 meetings, despite the fact that we were also sexually active. Our sexual encounters were quite unusual compared to those of typical people. We planned to have sexual encounters at a variety of different times and locations, including public spaces. Once we traveled to Spain in we decided to challenge in order to compete against one another. Who will initiate sexual activity in a public place? That person would be in charge of that. It makes no sense, but at time we were completely insane. We experienced happiness and a unique kind of joy in life as a result of these kind of activities. Our time spent together was very pleasurable. Once we traveled to the Bahamas, where a wedding was taking place. As we were leaving the location we saw, she joked and said the two of us should get married. At first I laughed, but she told me that she was being serious, so I stopped. Due to the fact that I was also a crazy person who enjoyed doing adventures, I gave in, went to the church and got married. It was the biggest adventure we did together. After that, we enjoyed our first night at beach. Let me tell you something, we did a fantastic sex before marriage, but when we got married, our sex experience was much better than before. Might be it a very unique relation and a precious and beautiful gift from the God. I am aware that this is insane, but as I previously stated, I was a very unusual person in my own way, so in fun we did marriage. However, it was a momentous occasion in both of our lives. We did it for laughs, but when I told Marika that we became better half accidentally and now she should be responsible, and she said it was a very big deal for us. She indicated that she was cognizant of the responsibilities as well. After moving to New York with me, she relocated to her home. After getting married, I felt like the level of excitement and adventure in my life had significantly decreased, and while I was on the other side, I detested it very much. Marika was having a great time settling into life in a new city, and she had recently found a job in a large restaurant that paid very well. It worked out wonderfully for her. I was also busy in my company because we were working on our new products day and night because the competition was increasing day by day and we all were trying to keep up. During all of this, I was unable to see her or spend time with her in any capacity. Additionally, she complained once my work routine. However, the company was mine and it was my duty to put in a lot of effort to advance it. I told her that whenever my new products were finally released, whenever she wanted, we would go on 1-month trip together. However, I was also conscious of the fact that we both require a break at this time. During the course of my official duties, I was required to travel to various cities and visit various businesses in order to advertise our brand new product. After a certain amount of time has passed, I got the impression that she was being rather impolite. In addition, she has engaged in some peculiar activities. On average, I get back to my house around midnight. I had reached in a very exhausted state. I did not waste any time getting to bed and I slept. When I woke up at 12 o'clock at the night, Marika was not in the bed and she was instead in the bathroom. I had gotten up to use the restroom at that time. I began checking my phone while I waited for her to come out of the restroom, so I wouldn't be bored while I waited. If there was any urgent communication from any of the employees, I waited for her for close to quarter an hour, but she never emerged from the restroom. I approached the restroom suspiciously and heard what sounded like her talking to someone. After giving the door a soft knock, she opened it abruptly and informed me that she was talking to herself. That day I noticed she had a very different facial expressions than usual. What took place is beyond my comprehension. But as it was getting late in the night, I got up to use the restroom and fell asleep. For some reason, I had the feelings that our life was going to take a different turn. Because prior to getting married, I was a very outgoing and loving person, but now I find that I can be quite abrupt at times because I needed to get some paperwork from my closet. I won't be able to get started on this until I get back to my house around noon. Once after some time had passed, I went to see my brother. During a conversation, he shared with me that a few days ago, he and some of his friends went out to a bar to have some fun. He claimed to have seen Marika there with a male companion. They were examining things very carefully. He shared with me that he had the impression that they were extremely close to one another. I responded by saying that it was possible that it was her co-worker and that I had also met him and thought he seemed like a nice man. I had a very open mind when I was younger, therefore I restrained her in every possible way. Simply put, he was only her friend. In addition to that, I have faith in her. It is not a concern of yours. However, he did tell me to keep an eye on her in any case. He warned me that it was possible that he was in error, but that you should be cautious. I said okay, I'll look after it. However, it took me by surprise to discover a man in my house. Upon asking, Marika mentioned to me that he was the head chef at the restaurant in which she was also employed. She also mentioned that they had become good friends. Because he was passing through here on his way to the job, he came to pick me up for it. I needed to get going quickly, so I went into the room, grabbed my things, and then left. When I finally made it to the office, when I reached to concentrate on my work, I always removed my watch from my wrist. Suddenly, the image of a man's wristwatch that I had seen on the bed in my room came back to me, but because I was in such a rush, I did not even notice it. Because of that action, I have my doubts about her. I asked her about it when I got back to my house in the evening. I noticed that her face had turned pale when I questioned her about the watch. She stated that her friend used the restroom in our room at some point, and while he was there, he left his watch on our bed. After he had obtained it prior to departing, there was no response that I could give to her, because my sixth sense indicated me she was having an affair with him, and it was confirmed by that incident. On the other hand, I have also arrived at the conclusion that there is a possibility that everything is open to question as long as I don't have any solid evidence. In any case, the launch of my product reputation of the entire company was significant to me because I had invested a lot of time, energy, and blood into it. I couldn't afford to lose even a single day at work. But I was also having a lot of second thoughts about her. I was not able to spend any of my spare time monitoring her activities, so I had a few hidden cameras and microphones installed in my home, and began checking as soon as I arrived back at house each and every night. Due to the fact that I was extremely busy at work, I was unable to review the recordings. But on the weekends, after Marika had gone to bed, I checked the recordings. After watching and listening to the recordings, my stomach dropped and my heart sank. As these recordings were made within the past week, I witnessed Marika and the same man having sex twice in the time period. And who can tell the number of times that went by before I became aware of her actions? Tears welled up in my eyes, but I reminded myself that I'm a strong person and resolved to set an example for other people who cheat. I learned about their plans from those recordings, which also included Marika informing that man that she was fed up with me and that I was her bad decision. This has caused me even more pain. My pain was raging like a fire. In addition to this, they intended to stay the entire night the next time I went on a business trip. I started to get angry at her. I devised a scheme that would leave a scar on her heart for the rest of her life. I pretend normal to her. As I stood there facing her, I cursed myself for having the audacity to have married such a slut. After 2 days, I informed her that I would be leaving for a business trip the following day and that it would last for 3 days. I was confident that she would act in accordance with what she was considering. So on the day I left, I was aware that she would undoubtedly call her husband at home and complain about us. I got on the phone with my brother and told him to hurry over here because I need his help with something. I filled him on the affair that Marika was having. In addition to that, he was furious with her. I instructed him to keep his car parked on my street and to keep a watchful eye on the home. When a man arrived, he simply called me. On that day, I stayed in my office. It occurred to me that I ought to remain there. If I was to remain on my street, there is a better chance that she will notice me. When I answered the phone, it was my brother who informed me that there had been a visitor at my home. It was after 8 o'clock at night. I made a beeline for the house. My home used to be right on the corner. I don't know what happened to me, but all of a sudden, my heart started racing, and when I got home, I couldn't stop myself from driving into the house, so instead of parking, I smashed through the wall of the house. I've no idea how that happened, and finally arrived at the hallway. I am so grateful that I did not sustain any injuries. Marika and the other man come running out of the room while yelling. Both of them were naked. I got out of my car, grabbed Marika, and then instructed my brother to grab the other man. We both reached out and grabbed them to the road. Because of what she had done, Marika was given a slap by me. During the same period of time, my brother was assaulting that individual. People emerged from the surrounding society. They also stopped us. We created a very dramatic scene with it. During that time, an ambulance might have been called by someone. That was the day that marked the first time I had slapped Marika. People witnessed her walking around naked in the road, and people also recorded everything. This event would utterly destroy her.